Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome to another edition of The Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy C.J. Vogel, and, of course, the coach, former high school football coach at Burnett, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan, also played college football at Abilene Christian, coached there multiple stints, and also was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head coaches. You can find his work these days at ShipleyRanches.com. It's Coach Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? I'm kind of like Gronk on those USAA commercials. I want to be a lifetime Longhorn. Why can't I be in the club?
That's why I give Coach a nice intro, because I can't throw a lifetime Longhorn in there.
It's good.
Yeah,
doing good. Enjoying a little bit cooler, especially in the mornings. It's a little cooler, a little nicer.
Yeah.
Kind of take a deep breath this week and just ingest this part of the season and, where we're at, where we're going.
And Coach, I want to ask you about the bye week. I mean, you've dealt with bye weeks before. I wonder how that is. And I want to ask you about the protocol for bye weeks and what's the priority for coaches during that time. We'll get to that, get coaches' thoughts. Remember, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee is also going to join us later on in the show here on The Winning Drive. Thanks to all you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. All you folks from all over the country, all over the world, actually, joining us for The Winning Drive. CJ, you're a hardworking man. You always, I don't know when you have downtime, because every time I see you got something going on. Did you get a chance to go to the media availability or at least partake in it today?
I did. I was up there. Sarkisian spoke. No players today, of course, as Texas is on their bye week. They're given their opportunity to sit back, relax, and kind of relieve themselves from some duties there. But no, Sarkisian's excited. He said, this is the first time that we've been here. We've gone into a bye after a win, and I think that one helps Texas, keep momentum up, keep their confidence high. But it was a rocky win against Mississippi State. It wasn't a clean football game, which should also allow for them to be able to keep their emphasis and some of that, intensity high for cleaning up those details going into what is going to be an emotional game in Dallas against, one of your biggest rivals. So I think it was a win-win all the way around for Texas.
I agree with you on that. I said that in the post game. I said it's a hell of a wake-up call. Every team even great teams have wake-up calls throughout the season. I think this was the wake-up call for Texas. So I want to we're speaking of Mississippi State. We'll talk about the result of that Mississippi State game. I want to get coaches' thoughts. We'll also get into what Sark talked about since CJ was there on the scene. All of your questions, comments, we'll address as many of them as we can, so throw them out there. Super chats jump to the front of the line. They can interrupt the show at any time. My man CJ Vogel found a tweet from a Sooner analyst, former player, who was very critical of one of Texas' best players, actually. And so I want to get to that too, because CJ had, CJ actually has a nice tweet out there now that I think is just a masterful troll job of Gabe Eichert and that tweet. So we'll get to that too coming up. I want to get you guys' thoughts about Arch Manning and his performance. Pro Football Focus had him graded as the highest graded quarterback this week in college football. That's a hell of an achievement for somebody just getting their second start. So we'll talk about that too. So we got a lot to get into on the show. Let's start with the game and the game review, and then we'll get to the other stuff and talk about bye week. But Coach, give me your just overall thoughts. Mississippi State, Texas, they did beat them by 22 points, so they got them off the stick. All right, you beat them by 3 touchdowns, but Longhorn fans do not necessarily believe the Longhorns played to the standard they speak of.
No, and that was really disappointing. You would hope the team is mature enough and focused enough on their own, but obviously, even with coaches making, doing everything they can to make sure you take every game serious. But sometimes you listen, you hear all that stuff, but you still listen to knuckleheads like us saying, "Oh, it's going to be 4 strips and for tackles, touchdowns, and punt return, and a strip 6, another strip 6, and breaking the school record and all this stuff." And I'm sure it's not from us, but you understand what I'm saying. Yep. I just felt like we just weren't playing aggressive. We just weren't mentally and locked in, just the penalty in and of themselves, but just sloppy tackling at times, sloppy blocking, just certainly allowing the offensive line to beat us coming off the ball. Even though they weren't huge gains, it was enough to keep knocking us back, and I felt like if they would have stuck to that and not gotten themselves behind on at the sticks, then they could have hung in this game a little bit longer, hoping we would shoot ourselves in the foot, at the end and give them a chance.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, CJ, how much of it was, maybe that the Texas team was feeling themselves a little bit, maybe like Coach said, reading social media, listening to us talk about how great they are, how bad Mississippi State was, one of the worst Mississippi State teams we've seen in years. How much of it was that, and how much of it do we just have to give some credit to Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State? Nice game plan, well executed early on. First drive was like a 7-minute drive. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think a couple things, right? Texas was very sloppy. It was, you could say the worst game Texas has played this year. I don't think you'd find much resistance to that statement. I actually didn't think the defensive side of the ball was that bad when you go back and you watch it. Yeah, there were some runs that got loose. Yeah, there were some drives that lingered on longer than you would have liked. But, it took a 4th down conversion for Mississippi State to go on that 7-minute drive, right?
Yep.
And I think in a typical situation, I think you don't see opponents go on it for 4th and 2 from your own 30-yard line, essentially. You don't see that too often. Credit to Lebby and credit to Mississippi State for executing, and that's what kind of lingered on. They didn't score any points on that drive, but, it kind of set the tone for what that half was going to be, and it was a very well-executed game plan, as we talked about, almost to the point where it kind of was a downfall for Mississippi State, right? I think they had 3 or 4 delay of game penalties because they just wanted to stretch the clock. They had an inexperienced quarterback. And, when you stretch the clock in that fashion and you don't have the communication up to the point, well, then it kind of backfires on you. And that happened at times. But for Texas, you could point to the run game again, kind of being a bit weaker, right? And I think at some point you got to look at the defensive line for setting and kind of being that rock there, but also the linebackers for running and filling holes the way that they have in the past. Texas got off for when you look at it in the sense of the first 2 drives of the game, Texas did not allow a first down on the first 3 plays of the first 2 drives. That typically indicates a 3 and out. And if that's the case, hey, I like that. I'd rather prefer a 3 and out than a lingering drive, as I think we all would. What Texas didn't do a very good job of is offensively playing that complementary offense to its defense. You go out, you score the first drive, Texas gets the ball back on a 3 and out again, they get into the red zone, and then you fumble. Well, if that game goes up 14-0, there's no way that Mississippi State's able to sit there and have a 5 or 6 minute possession again. That results in 3. That you can't do that. And now, again, I trust the Texas defense on 4th down. We saw it again with the 4th and 7 to begin the game, to go up 14-0 and then 21-0. And then that all of a sudden throws away the complete game plan that Mississippi State wanted to do. Well, the Texas offense, because they couldn't score and they were dropping passes and they were fumbling, allowed Mississippi State to continue to run the football, hold on to that time of possession. And as a result, it took a miraculous throw almost from Arch and DeAndre Moore to get up by 8 points and stretch that lead a little bit, when it should have been a game in which Texas, had it not been the one stubbing its toe and really falling flat of what the game plan was, that was the whole reason why that game was close, because it was just a poorly executed game by the Texas offense in my eyes.
Yep, because that kept the Jeff Lebby's game plan, which was ball control, and that kind of took a page out of Joe McGuire's book, right? It's like, hey, man, I'm just going to go for it. We got to keep the ball. We got to keep Sark from getting the ball, because that's going to be key, right? Because that if Sark gets the ball, too many possessions, then that run, which I always talk about, it's inevitable. It's going to come. If they get the ball. And when the run come? 4th quarter. So Jeff Lebby was able to keep the run at bay until the 4th quarter. Then the dam just broke on him, and boom, 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 all the touchdowns came. But that's kind of the key, because you got to maintain possession. And that's why those 4th downs against this Texas defense, they're important. Because I think Oklahoma's going to steal some of that. Joe McGuire threw that out there against Sark. Washington did a good job of that too as well against Sark. Just keep the football. Have one of those quarters where you dominate. You basically have to take you got to take almost a complete quarter away from Texas. That's part of how you beat them. against Washington. What was it? The third quarter, Texas fumbled, and they basically barely saw the ball in that bowl game, Coach. And that was kind of key. That's why Texas came up a little bit short. And Oklahoma did a good job of it when they beat Texas, keeping the football for extended periods of time. Jeff Levy did it. I mean, that's really kind of the key. You don't want to have to defend the Sark offense too much. You limit possessions. And I think that's something Oklahoma will try to replicate. Some other teams will try to replicate against Texas.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that's a great way to defend us. And then you hope a couple of breaks don't go Texas' way. And that's exactly what happened. But again, like you guys were talking about, if you don't have the fumble, CJ, and you go up 14, and then you make a stop, then then it's 21. We're probably not talking about this.
No,
exactly.
Yep.
And that was
Cook catches that ball. Cook catches that pass. That's a touchdown. And then you get your like CJ. Then the run happens. That's when the run happens. Then you get a complimentary aspect probably from the defense, and then boom, it's all downhill from there.
That was the entire game plan for Texas, and it has been allow your offense to get up and let your pass rush get after what was an inferior offensive line. And we saw what happened in the second half, right? Texas ended up with 6 sacks, and they did have 2 strip sacks. They only recovered 1, but that was what was going to happen had Texas converted earlier offensively. That game shouldn't have been as close. You go back, you watch the film, Texas dominated what felt like the play-by-play. And it happened in a sense that it was frustrating because, they were only getting 3 yards. It took them 3 or 4 plays to get 11 yards, and then they would do it again. And you're sitting there thinking, well, they're not gashing us. They completed that one pass for 30 yards, but they had tried 5 times previously. It wasn't a game in which you looked at it and said, Mississippi State, yeah, they're hanging in there because of what was expected to be their, a miraculous game by them. It was Texas not executing and really falling flat. But again, and Coach, let me get your thoughts going into a bye week. You win the game, so vibes are up. Everybody's happy. You're 5-0. You're number 2 in the country. But it was a pretty ugly game by standards. And because of that, you're able to go into the bye week. You're able to get healthy. But you're also able to say, hey, you didn't look good then, so let's keep this intensity high. How easy is it to use that game in a bye week versus maybe coming off of a 50-point game? We've seen Texas come off of buys and a game that they lost previously, and now it's like, okay, they've been itching to get back at it. Now I think they'll be itching to get back at it for a different reason.
Yeah, I think you stay after them pretty hard. I mean, it's every coach knows, and every former football player knows when you win, you're going to get coached harder the next week because it's good because you won. It's after you lose and you get coached hard. That's when sometimes some walls go up. So I think you win, you still coach hard. I don't know if you go so far as to say, you know what, if you play like that with that effort and that lack of focus against a top 10 team, our season's going to be over. I don't know that you go that far, but that's true. You can get away with that, a couple of breakdowns here and there against a team at the bottom of the SEC. You can't do it against teams that that have the players to play with us, even when maybe they're not playing that well.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff.
But to answer, can I say, just to answer your question, I go one day, correct mistakes today in the open week, and then introduce Oklahoma. And then it's Oklahoma Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I'm sure after practice Wednesday, the coaches hit the road. I would assume, if not Wednesday, then Thursday. But then coaches will be on the road. They'll be back in Saturday morning in game mode.
That's right.
Spring prep mode.
Yeah. OU, baby. Yeah, it is. It's 3:31, and OU still sucks. And always. All right, let's not waste any time. Speaking of the time, let's get right to our very special guest. We are pleased and very grateful to have lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee join us every Monday here on the Winning Drive, courtesy of our friends over at Hargrove Roofing. Thank you very much to Hargrove Roofing. They not only sponsor this segment of the Winning Drive, they have offices all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and of course the great state of Texas, including Austin, Texas. And Hargrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs, ladies and gentlemen, whether you have some concerns about your roof right now, maybe you need a new roof and you know that already, or maybe you're not sure what's going on with your roof. Maybe you moved into a new house and he's like, you don't know how long it's been since you've had a new roof. They will come out and they'll perform a free roof inspection for you right now over at Hargrove Roofing. Just go check them out, 512-645-3202, or visit hargroveroofing.com. We got partners like Lifetime Longhorn Bert Auburn, and of course, Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, our good friend. They're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. Check them out today for that free roof inspection. You cannot beat that. Hargrove Roofing, know who's on your roof. And courtesy of Hargrove Roofing, we have Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee. Stevie, what's going on, brother? How was the weekend?
Man, the weekend was good. Guys, we got a W, y'all. Y'all sound gloom and doom right now, dude. Like, golly, perk up, fellas. It's a W in the SEC, man. Come on.
Ain't no gloomy gloom here. No, we're just talking about. Listen, okay. You know what? You know why I know we are right on the post? Because what did Sark say about Arch? What did he say? He said, "I've been coaching him hard. I've been coaching him hard." Why? Why is he coaching Arch so hard? Why? Because he knows what the potential is for Arch. How great Arch is.
Yeah.
So the reason that we critique this team hard is because we know how great they can be. We know the possibility. The champion, the national championship is the ceiling for this team. They can win it all.
Hey, they messed up. They messed up when they showed us how good they were.
Exactly.
They've showed us how good they are. So we can't have any of this down game stuff. We know what you've got, and that's what we expect.
I got you. That makes a lot of sense, Coach. I like that, man. I like it. I must use that with my kids.
Yeah, you messed up and showed me what you can do.
You already showed me.
That's why my wife asked me to do laundry. I always screw it up. I'm not gonna show her what I can do. Yeah. Then I'm doing laundry all the time. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All right, Stevie, let's get your thoughts. Let's get your thoughts about what you saw versus Mississippi State, and particularly because we haven't gotten into it, but I'm sure everybody's talked about it. Tell me what you thought about Arch in his second start of his career.
Arch still looks good to me, man. Still, setting his feet in the pocket. I love the long ball he can throw, bro. I love it, man. He can put it right in the kid's bread basket, like right there. And so I'm loving that about him. I'm loving that basically, he's a baby still, man. Come on. He's a baby. And we got 3 more years of this kid slinging a ball on the 40 acres, right? So I'm really, really excited about the future. Yes, we got to clean up some things. Listen, Blue was our third string running back because he put the ball on the ground. And I told people that in the beginning of the year. We got great running backs, but he was bad. He was fumble prone, right? And he lost 2 this game. So it happened. Sometimes you gotta, when they tell you who they are, believe them, right? So he told us 2 years ago that he can put it on the ground, and unfortunately he did. And we really can't have turnovers when it comes to big time college football. Now, when I left the stadium, I left with a smile for winning the game, and I also left with a smile for winning like we won, right? Don't go into the bye week and y'all kind of hit on it. Don't go into the bye week with your head all blown up, You got some shit to work on now. Pardon my French. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
I'm sorry.
But no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You're right.
Yeah, so we got some stuff to work on. And so this bye week, man, hit them hard. You got to hit them hard in practice. And on that Wednesday or Thursday, give me a good scrimmage. And then y'all can go home and kiss your girlfriends and go home and kiss your mom or whatever, and then get back here because we got OU. You know what I'm saying? So, and I like the press conference that Sark did. We just finished the first phase of the season. I like that. We finished the first phase. We did some things good. We got some things to work on. And then right now we're going into this bye week, and we're going to start the second phase of this season. And the second phase of this season is the thick of it. Yep. You know, I said in the beginning of the season, I don't know if I said it with you guys, but yes, we got OU. That's a rivalry game, toss-up, right? Almost a toss-up. We're better than them, but, you know, it's a rivalry game.
It's always a toss-up.
It's always, right. And then we got Georgia, right? That's going to be a dog fight, for lack of better words. It's going to be a Longhorn fight, let's say that. and then Vandy ain't no pushover at Vandy. You know what I'm saying?
No, they not. No,
right? Not. So keeping these guys focused, I think, and we might be so good that Sark orchestrated this for them not to play so well this past game, right? So we got some stuff to work on this off season. This off week, so we can go into this next phase hot and on fire, right? So I do think that this bye week also gives us some time to rest and get some guys back from being banged up a little bit, and hopefully Ewers is back, because we still know it's Ewers' team, even though Manning looks really, really good. So you know it looks good, but go ahead. I can talk all day, man. I don't want to take all your time.
No, but listen. I'll say this. I know CJ and Coach got some stuff they want to ask you too. We are crying from I think Sark calls it crying from a yacht. All right, That's when you're complaining. First world problem. That's where Longhorn fans are now. So I admit you're right about that. We should make sure we enjoy this ride. Yeah. So and not to be too critical the whole time. Enjoy it as well, because your team is damn good and they're gonna be in the thick of it. So to CB's point. All right, I'll open the floor for you guys.
I mean, just going into a bye week, just for both of you guys, take us through what does that look like? You know, are you always in training? Are you always in the rehab room? You know, what's going on? I know you're not on the practice field, but you want to get healthy.
No, we are on the practice field. Well, we were back in the day during the bye week, and so we still practice hard, probably even harder on that Tuesday practice, and then kind of scale it back a little bit, because you know it is a long season, guys, and so you want to stay on them and stay on the kids, but you kind of scale it back to get a little bit of rest, and because this second phase of the season is going to be a hard one, right? So it's a balance of staying up, staying in it, and getting your rest. And so in the bye week, sometimes we would get a chance to go home, Mm-hmm. And so Rod, I think we get out on Thursday, and they will let us get home and just get back on Sunday evening. And so, but that was a good time to get some good home cooking and actually get some rest, and then get back into the thick of things when you get back. So it's very important, though, really. So
yeah, you need to. And I always hate it, and it only happened maybe once. Going into a bye week after a loss, or like you said, after a bad game, even if your team won, you had a bad game, because what a football player wants to do, especially after you have an off game and not your best game, is to play right away. Like, I want to play again. I got to get that off my mind. I got to get that. You know what I mean? I get that off my chest. And so I think it's going to be good. These guys are going to be, they're going to be salivating, man. They're going to be hungry come that Texas OU game, because some of them, they didn't necessarily play to the standard that they played to all year long. So I think that's actually a good thing, them going into the bye week. Yes, they got the dub, but guys are going to be hungry going into it. Steve, let me ask you this real quick about the run defense. Because some people I'm not concerned about the run defense, but some people are. They ran it 50 times. Hell, I think they only averaged like 3 yards a run, but they ran a lot. They were able to control some of the game, dictate some of the game because of their commitment to the run. What were your thoughts watching the game about run fits, gap integrity? You saw anything there that leads you to be concerned that's worrisome about the Texas rush defense?
Nah, man. Talk about crying from a yacht, bro. Like, they got one touchdown, bro. Come on. What do you say? Averaging 3 yards a carry? Come on, man.
Pretty bad. Yeah, they averaged 3 yards a pop.
3 yards. Come on, y'all. Come on, please.
Well, you take those quarterback sacks out of that.
That's true.
Now I hear you.
Now you get up there around 4.
Well, okay, all right. So if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So
these days,
these days,
so I'm sorry, guys, but I hear you, Coach. I hear you loud and clear. But I don't know, man. It's I still feel like we're fitting. We got after the quarterback, man. Bro, I was jumping up and down when Vernon got back there and got a strip sack and the recovery. He did everything himself, bro. So they're playing well. Mississippi State couldn't do anything against us, y'all. Like, I mean, they that's all they could do is get a couple yards on the ground. That was it, y'all. They got one touchdown. The one of the field goals they got was now we gotta fix our special teams getting that block punt. Our punt block. That should not happen at the University of Texas, especially when we pay our guy $1.5 million to get it right? So that's one part that I really think the score, we should have had 2 more scores if we wouldn't have fumbled down there on the 15-yard line. And then there was a wide open pass that would have walked into the end zone. And then there's 3 points on the board that they should not even have. So in all actuality, y'all, just we're 3-4 plays away of blowing this whole game out.
Right.
So we are really crying from a yacht, no question.
Man, I love it.
But no, hey, don't tell the kids that.
Hey, honestly, I think Texas football, that's how Texas football fans have always been to me. When I got hell, dude, we was winning 11 games, as you know, Stevie Lee, and still wasn't good enough.
No, it wasn't.
That means we're getting back to the standard, in my opinion.
Yeah, no question.
About a 22-point win. Coach, you remember them days, like 22-point win? We complained about that. It wasn't good enough. That's
look, you know what's crazy is now we're part of the freaking media talking about it like that now. Like, we're on the other side. Damn it, man.
That's true. Full circle.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. What more do you want from me?
Hey, Stevie, I want to ask you a quick question. As a player, it would seem to me to be hard. Is it difficult going into a bye week? You fixed to go home and see your family and see your old girlfriends, your old buddies. You're going to hang out, go to the high school game, sign autographs, take pictures, all that. And you don't have to be up for a game this weekend to play in. How hard is it? And Rod, you know this as well as Stevie Lee. You guys can both answer to it. How hard is it to stay focused and feel like you really got better during this week as opposed to just having the don'ts? You just don't want to do anything.
Well, I don't think it's hard at all. I think that you focus on the field when it's time for practice, and then when it's time to go home and rest, go and do that. I was always the type of guy, like I was a square good kid, right? So I went home and actually hung out with the family and tried to eat right.
That's why your boy hooked you up with your wife.
Exactly. That's true. Exactly.
Yeah, I was square, man. So I went back home to Shreveport and just hung out, got to bed at a decent time, and actually got back and got ready to get back to practice. I don't know what Rod was doing. Probably don't want to know what Rod was doing, but
yeah, you don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but for me, it wasn't hard, man. I looked forward to the bye week so I could get some rest because school did not come easy for me. Coming from Louisiana, the Louisiana education system. But so I, used that time to actually catch up on things and rest, but practice was still challenging, So
yeah. I remember because I'm with you about the rest thing. I want to make sure I took some R&R during that time, but I do remember diving deep into film, and I remember rewatching like the games I had prior to that because I wanted to do some self, like kind of my own kind of introspective study. So I remember watching film of myself and watching film of the upcoming opponents during bye weeks. I try to figure out like what, basically what teams were trying to exploit in my skill set that I can get better at. And I would, ask Coach Aquino about that kind of stuff. And Coach Aquino would always say like, hey, you want to, these are some games you want to watch. go watch this drive, this play, in your technique. He would give me practice film to watch so I could watch myself in practice. I was going up against Roy Williams every day. So
yeah,
damn good practice film. I mean, I'm going against the NFL wide receiver. Hey, let me look at that rep and see about my technique and my leverage, things like that. So I would use it to more basically, kind of go into a self-analysis and an introspective breakdown about how I could get better, because that's really what you're focused on during that time. So everybody's got something. Yes, I would party. See, man, obviously Stevie Lee's right. Whatever you do to enjoy yourself, to relax, do that. So yeah, I'd probably go hang out with the fellows a little bit, but nothing crazy. I mean, football was first for me. Yeah. Even though I like to get down, football was first, man. And my crew was like that too. We got down and we got hype, but football always took precedent. You know what I mean? If it was gonna hurt the team, we ain't doing that then. Period.
On a bye week like this, and after Texas was able to get off the field, you had the Alabama-Georgia game to look forward to, and now you'll have the whole weekend to kind of sit back and watch other games across the country. Did y'all tune into games that were on, the ESPN, or I guess the ABCs, the NBCs, or anything like that? And, how often were y'all aware of what was going on around the country, back then versus what's, more, nationally known now with social media and everything like that?
Towards the end of the season, I remember, Rod, I don't know if you remember this, but we weren't projected to go to that Big 12 championship game when we played Colorado.
No, yeah.
There was a big loss that happened that put us in that game.
It was Oklahoma.
It was Oklahoma that lost, I believe. Yeah. They put us in that game. So we were at home. It was a bye week because it was I guess it was after I don't know when it was exactly, but I get the phone call from Coach Tolley. It was like, "Hey, we need to hurry and get back. We got a game this week." Yeah. We weren't projected to be in that game, and then all of a sudden we were. So that's the only time I really paid attention. I would take a look at things, but Coach Brown always told us, do not get emotionally involved in other people's game. And I actually believe that, because when I get into a game, I'm hyped. I'm jumping up and down. I'm cursing at the TV and all that stuff, So when he would say, do not get emotionally involved in other people's game, because that'll drain your own energy. And I was like, yeah, he's right. I shouldn't do that. And so I try not to do it on the bye week. Try not to watch games on bye weeks.
Got it.
Yeah.
I pay attention to our rankings. I remember when we were ranked. I think the highest we were ever, I was ranked while with the team, was, I think we were number 2. And I think that we were playing Oklahoma State that week, if I'm not mistaken. CB might fact check me on it. And then we played on, and then it was a close win. Stevie, you remember that? It was a really close. It was right before OU. It was like literally, I want to say it was like this week that we played them. We were number 2 in the country, and it was the highest that we gotten. And back then, it would matter being 1 and 2, so you can play for the national title. And we played a down game. I'm not sure what else happened around the country. I know we played a down game. I don't even think Oklahoma State was ranked, but Oklahoma State always plays Texas tough. So It was down to the wire, and I think we won. No, we got one on like a game-saving interception. I believe I was a part of that, but we dropped in the rankings, and we didn't play to the standard. Yeah, so we dropped in the rankings. I would follow us, but I wouldn't follow necessarily everybody else in I'd rank. Like basically whoever was in our periphery there, I would follow. But yeah, you're right. You can't get too emotionally involved in everybody else's stuff, because that'll drain you throughout the season. I can't do that. Yeah, I try to avoid that stuff.
But the other thing I wanted to say was us dropping in ranking. I didn't mention that we dropped to number 2. Honestly, man, I like that. I like that, to give these kids some motivation, man, and maybe I shouldn't say I like it, but I understand it, and it just give them a little bit more fire to say, oh, they don't think that we're number 1. We got to stay on top of this, But it doesn't matter as much as long as we're top 4 to get into the playoffs. It really don't matter much. So anyway,
yeah. I like it, actually. I like them dropping in the rankings. I like it. I like them having a wake-up call versus Mississippi State. I know what this team is capable of, but if they want to win it all, there are some things that need to be addressed, fine-tuned, buttoned up. And this is like the perfect situation to do it. Bye week, playing in Mississippi State, about to play your rival. I think it's almost like the ideal situation actually for Texas going into the toughest stretch of the schedule. All right, Stevie, we always love you, man. We can keep you here all damn day, honestly. So I won't, because I know wifey's already like, you said it was gonna be 15 minutes. All right, so man, we'll let you go. Thanks for all the insight, brother. Thanks for obviously joining us, and we'll talk to you next week down the line.
Thank you, fellas. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em, brother.
Thanks, Stevie.
Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee joining us, courtesy of our good friends at Hard Grove Roofing. Matter of fact, go check out Hard Grove Roofing at hardgroveroofing.com or 512-645-3202. They have offices all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and of course, the great state of Texas. Hard Grove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're Longhorn friendly. My man Stevie Lee works with our good friends at Hard Grove Roofing, as well as Lifetime Longhorn Burt Arbin, the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. Give them a call today, and you can get a free roof inspection. How about that? Free 99, best price you can get. Hardgroveroofing.com. Know who's on your roof. All right, let's get to a couple of questions. I like this question from CB. He always has some nice ones here. Great conversation starters. Is Colin Simmons the best player on defense?
It's a fun question to be having right now, and it kind of speaks to the level of ceiling that he has for, this was really the first game where you saw him play the majority of snaps. And even then it was 41 out of what I think was about 75. So still around half. Majority, probably the worst, not a great word to use there, but for him to be at 41 snaps, I think the highest coming into that weekend was about 27. So you see the increase, and you see them starting to peel back a little bit of how they want to use him. He was lined up over the guard and over the centers for the first time this season, rather than just outside over the edge. And if that's the case, we talk about, maybe giving different looks and different schemes and, challenges that you look at for opposing teams that have to game plan. Well, now they have to key in on 0. They have to know where 7 is. They know where 5's at. Defensively, they've already been honing in on 8, and Trey Moore finding ways to negate his presence. 88, another one.
Sorrell around, yeah. Yep.
But now you have to do it with 11. And if they're going to start moving around these edges, and now it's going to be the centers and the guards having to ID him versus what is typically a tight end or a running back that you could just throw outside of a tackle and pray that it helps, lengthen the time it gets to the quarterback. Well, it's only going to allow other people to make plays too. Colin Simmons, 4 sacks, 9 pressures, or 13 pressures. I mean, he's been tremendous. A forced fumble in there. You could argue he's been as impactful so far.
That's what I was going to say. I would say he's been the most impactful. I don't know about – we got some DBs playing really good right now.
They do.
I don't know that I would say the best player on defense, but I think he has been the most impactful. That's a great way to put it.
He's got those big plays, Coach.
Yes.
It's the sacks and, the forced fumble. I know he didn't recover it, but that was on a 3rd down. So
and then you're right about that, because the limited snaps that you just mentioned, CJ, in terms of the amount of havoc plays he's making per snap count is pretty amazing. It's pretty extraordinary. So I agree with the impactful thing. All right, then rank your top 5 players on defense then. Guys, give me the top 5, because I kind of agree with you. I don't know if he's the best player on defense, but I'm not sure who the best player on defense is. Who is the best player on the Texas defense? Is it Jahdae Barron? Are we talking about, is it, Anthony Hill? Who's the best player on Texas defense? And by the way, it could be like 3 or 4 guys here.
It's no, you're absolutely. It's tough to put a defensive back there, Rod, because they haven't been tested as much, and teams I think are seeing that because out of the top 5, 3 of the Texas top defenders are probably in that secondary. So they're saying, we're staying away. We'll ground and pound if we have to. We'll stay away from Andrew Makuba, Jahdae Barron, and Manny Muhammad. I think they're all 3 in the top 5 best quote unquote players on the Texas defense. I think you have to look at Anthony Hill as that guy right now for Texas. And I would even say that Mississippi State game was probably the 5th best game that he's played this year out of the 5 possible, and that's even more so to say how impactful he's been in other games. But it wasn't a clean game for him. He had 3 missed tackles. He was out of position on what was a big gain in the passing game over the middle of the field. It wasn't his best game, which I still think you could look at and say he had a sack. He had 2 or 3 tackles for loss. He was flying all over the field and say, okay, Well, if that's his worst, I think you take that 9 times out of 10. So for that reason, I think you have to go with him right now.
Just interesting. I guess it's a nice segue because Gabe Eichert, and you pointed this out, CJ, who is he's an analyst or does analyst work analyzing Oklahoma football. Played for the Sooners, was a consensus All-American, I believe, for the Sooners.
What's his name?
Gabe Eichert.
Gabe Eichert.
Eichert.
Oh,
No.
I thought it was
Gabe.
I
Sorry,
thought it was
Gabe.
It's
Gabe
hard to
Eichert. Did I rush through it? I'm sorry if I did not enunciate. Gabe Eichert. Sorry, that probably didn't sound right. Me rushing through it.
I thought we were going to be talking to a Gabe Eichert, but that's cool. Hey, whatever. Whatever turns your pedals.
A gay biker?
That's exactly what I thought. I thought it was somebody that had an ad name and it wasn't their real name, like Texas Boy or whatever,
Gay biker.
Gay biker.
Which is, no, by the way, not that there's anything wrong with that.
If you'd have said, UT Boy said this, that's exactly, I know his name's not UT Boy. That's his handle. So I thought a guy considered himself a gay biker, which would not be very comfortable if you bare naked. I don't know. Maybe they have a special seat for you so you can hang on in case you're starting to fall off.
We shouldn't even got Coach Start. That's just my fault. I should have enunciated correctly. It's all me. I should have said Gabe Eichert. He's an All-American, former All-American center for the Sooners, and played in the NFL for about 4 or 5 years. But this was his tweet. This is the tweet that he tweeted out, guys. In his film review, I guess he did some film breakdown of Texas defense, and this was some of his early thoughts. Keep things very simple. Trust their guys to win their battles. Number 45 playing very well. I'm assuming that's Vern Broughton he's talking about there. Through 5 games, blitzed the least of any defense I've ever studied. Attack number 0, he's good, but the worst player in their front 7. Number 11, gonna be a dude. Now, I think we all agree with the last statement there. Let's pay attention here, Coach, to attack number 0. He's good, but the worst player in their front 7.
I say attack him and see what happens.
Yes.
I think that's what most Texas fans are saying for good reason. I don't know. He was.
He could be saying he's better at coming from the backside and finding a lane to run through or something than he is just taking a lead blocker, and a pulling guard or something head on. That could be what he's talking about. I don't know.
Yeah. Could be, and I like Gabe. I was on his show earlier this offseason, but that'd be like if Texas fans, and I kind of poked fun at it too, and I said, hey, attack Danny Stutzman. He's the worst player in their front 7. And you could point to missed tackles. He leads the country in missed tackles for linebackers right now, but I think we all know deep down Danny Stutzman's a pretty darn good football player. And if you attack him, well, I don't think that's going to be a recipe for success, right? That's just not the way that teams find themselves succeeding and gaining yards offensively to go after a player of their caliber. And I think Anthony Hill is a player of that caliber. And what Texas is going to be doing against in Oklahoma is, I think, something that they haven't necessarily shown at all this year. They haven't blitzed this much, right? You look at it, they keep things simple. Well, when you play in Oklahoma and you play at Georgia, that's when you start to peel back the curtain. And Texas has shown the dime look. They've had the NASCAR package. They've had the bear front. Then we got to see Trey Moore, Anthony Hill kind of lined up over the centers in that A-gap. I think you see a different game plan against Oklahoma that kind of unleashes all of these horses that Texas has that can get after the quarterback, a young one, and a bad offensive line to make things very difficult.
Yeah. Hey, TJ, you ever driven a stick shift?
I have.
It's like we're in third now, defensively. Yeah. We hadn't even hit 4th gear yet. I think that's a good way to the way you explained it. It's very. I think we still got a lot of stuff that we haven't shown, and we'll bring it when we need it.
A lot of horsepower that's yet to be used.
Yeah, no, I think Coach Nansen has done a really good job of coming up and bringing some very creative concepts to the defense this season. I think a lot of that, the NASCAR dime, I think that the package that we've seen where you have the ends, the edges mugging the B gap. I think, the inverted Tampa 2, the 3 high safety defense, which we've also seen. I think a lot of that is Johnny Nansen bringing some creative collaboration to the mix. And I think Texas benefited. And the versatility they got on defense, guys, everybody's moving around now. Everybody. And think about that. Like, there's nobody on this defense now pretty much that is the corners maybe. Corners are your guys who are specialized. I say that, but Jadae Barron moves from corner to nickel when they go into some of their exotic sub packages. They'll put him in at nickel. And so they got a lot of versatility where you're talking about Colin Simmons. How they got him now essentially playing Sam at times and mugging the B gap. They got Trey Moore doing some exotic things. Baron Sorrell now is playing multiple shades. So I think the versatility is something that they're benefiting from, especially with the Johnny Nansen influence, because he allows you. The scheme itself is versatile, but now the pieces are also very versatile there too. All right, a good question there, CB. How about that? This one. How about RW? He said, "Is Nye Black hitting the portal? I hope he and Trey Moore come back for another year." I'm not sure what's going on with Amari Nye Black. I know there was some uncertainty about whether he played at all in the Mississippi State game. He definitely didn't play on offense. Did he play on special teams? And I'm not sure if he played on special teams or not. It's pretty evident now, guys, that Juan Davis is the number 2 tight end. And there's not like a competition for number 2. He is clear and far and away the number 2 tight end. And there is no sign of Amari Nye Black anywhere. I think part of that is because Gunnar Helm has exceeded expectations. And now he is a guy that can beat one-on-one coverage. And now he can do more in the passing game than maybe some anticipated. So they don't need a very, once again, specialized guy who pretty much is pigeonholed into doing one thing well, which is, hey, he's an elite receiver at tight end, but maybe not a plus blocker. And right now they have 2 more well-rounded options in Juan Davis and also in Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to speculate about portal. There's been nothing indicated to me so far, but my point about this is Texas is going to play the best players that give them a chance to win. And we saw that on Saturday. When guys aren't living up or if they're fumbling or not catching passes, they're going to be sidelined. And when you're Amari Nye Black and you've had 4 penalties so far through 5 games, your chances to get back on the field and earn the trust of a brand new coaching staff to him, it shortens the leash. And for that reason, when other guys at your same position are not committing those penalties and are executing in the fashion that are asked of them in their own snaps, well, who are you going to go with? The guy that you don't quite know is going to perform well on the field, or the guy that's been in the program for 4 years and you can trust a little bit more? I think that's where things are at right now. So it's unfortunate, right? We expected a big season from him with his unique skill set to get down the field vertically. We haven't seen him. Maybe an Oklahoma or Georgia game is something that he could have a certain package in, but you have to make the most of your snaps, and Texas has proven to go with the hot hand, as we saw with Jaden Blue and Jonte Cook after this weekend.
Like that, yeah. No, I agree. That's a good point, though, about they're playing the best guys. That Jaden Blue benching coach, I mean, that's a message to everybody on the team, is it not? That's a message. It's like, no. I know he is a guy that's second on the team in targets going into this game, leading us in rushes. But if he is not executing and he's not focused, he's not helping. You're on the bench.
You have
a powerful message, right, Coach?
Yeah, you have to do that, but at the same time, you have to do it. It's hard to do it when you have no depth.
Yeah,
it's hard to do it when you know the playing level is going to go down a notch. Yeah, I gotta prove this guy, make a point, but how do I do it when the guy going in for him is so far being from what this guy is, just athletically or talent wise or whatever? So there's a fine line in handling that, I think. And I think from what I've seen, Sark does a pretty good job of it. It just comes down to, the simple fact that Amari he's had opportunities, and I don't know exactly what, my mind's gone blank, which happens quite a bit. Trey Moore. I'm sorry. Trey Moore. What were his snaps the last game?
Trey Moore still like starting. I mean, isn't he starting most of the games?
He's still up in the 40s, and you know his as we know, his sack numbers aren't where I think we expected them to be. I'm looking at he was at 47 snaps out of 75 possible, so you still see him in that starter snap area. He did draw a holding penalty. He probably would have had his first sack if he wasn't completely bear hugged from the back. So, he's finding ways to be impactful. Again, I think you'd like him to be a little bit more involved, however.
Yeah. No, but right now, I want to say the only sack, they have 13 sacks now, I think that's the number. I believe most of them are from just linebackers and edges, though. None of the D tackles. Vernon Broughton's the only one that has a sack there, too. So I think the edges actually, you're starting to see, and Anthony Hill's a big part of that, matter of fact, the worst player, if you ask Gabe Eikert, in the front seven. Tucker Foster here says our front seven would be scary, elite, if Anthony Hill was the worst player. Yeah, if he is the worst, I mean, that to me, you can say, he's someone you can exploit situationally or something like that. But saying he's the worst player, I mean, I don't know. I think that you lose a little credibility saying he's the worst player, because that's obviously not factually accurate. He's not the worst player in the front seven. We're not going to have a discussion about who is, but it ain't Anthony Hill. All right. Thank you for the super chat there. Appreciate that.
I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that he's a biker. I don't know.
Not just a biker, coach, a gay biker, and proud of it.
Yeah.
All right.
I started it. Yeah. Never mind.
I know. See, you can go, Coach.
I'm not.
If you want, I'll let you have it
because that's a real dude that I promise I've never heard of him. I don't know who he is. I wouldn't know that name from anything. So that's exactly what I thought. Honestly, what I thought I heard you say. I don't know the guy. I'm sure he's great. If CJ's busy with him, he's a friend of his. He's a friend of mine.
Oh, see, somebody's gonna send this to Gabe. I'm sure of it. And he's not going to be happy about this discussion we just had about Gabe Eikert. But there you go. Let's thank our friends at Duck Camp. I'm representing right now. Duck Camp produces premium outdoor goods for the outdoor spirit in all of us. We want to thank them for sponsoring this segment of the Winning Drive. Duck Camp is dedicated to providing the best outdoor goods so you can outdoor good, whether you're an avid hunter, maybe you prefer fishing, or whether you're like me, you prefer the camaraderie of the campfire and the campsite. Whatever it may be, as long as you're enjoying that outdoor lifestyle, Duck Camp is the brand for you. It's a brand that understands the culture and of outdoor living and the good times and good friends that come along with living an outdoor lifestyle. You can check out their new fall selection, their new fall collection right now, and it's got a lot of great items. I've ordered a couple of them myself, actually. I'm still expecting those. Duckcamp.com is where you go. Check out that fall selection. So whether it's actual hunting gear or maybe like me, you want to fake it till you make it, you can do that at duckcamp.com. They have great stuff there, duckcamp.com. And thank you for sponsoring the Winning Drive. All right, gentlemen, I got a question for you guys, for both of you guys. Start with you, Coach. What if you did have an area of focus that you want the team to emphasize in the bye week? What is it?
Overall?
Yeah, whatever. Like you said, this is what we're gonna emphasize this in the bye week. We gotta get better at this. We gotta improve at this specific area or issue.
Yeah, I think offensively, I think we've got to tighten up some things with our run blocking. And honestly, it's no secret that Arch hangs onto the ball longer than Quinn does. But do we need to tighten up our pass pro a little bit more? He's getting hit a lot, and now if Quinn was there, it's same call, same situation, he may not get hit at all because he gets rid of it so quickly. But and the penalties, that's a great point. But that's just all the focus stuff. If you're just talking about defensively, I say we just continue to do what we've been doing, continue to work on some blitz packages I'm hoping that we're going to see, and just set an edge and make sure we're fitting good. I think defensively we're going to be fine. I really love where our DBs are. They're not perfect, but wow, I'm so proud of what they've been able to accomplish over the offseason.
Yeah, no, good stuff. CJ, you got anything to add? What would you emphasize? And I hard to say work on because the team's really good, but what would you emphasize for this team in the bye week?
Yeah, as much as you can, emphasize holding on to the football, both catching the rock and not fumbling. And that's one thing to just say it. You have to do it. I don't think anybody wants to do those things, but, it's part of the game. And the less that you can do them, the more you can win, right? Texas turned the ball over 4 times really a year ago against Oklahoma. They lost. They turned the ball over twice with fumbles against Washington. They lost. They turned the ball over twice, and dropped a touchdown against Mississippi State. The issue is they're much more talented than Mississippi State. So they won that game. So my point is, when you do those things against bad football teams and you commit 8 penalties and 5 of them are holding and you're backing up your offense and you're preventing points from being on the board against a good team with a veteran quarterback, that's going to come back to bite you. Fortunately, they don't have many opportunities to be facing a team like that this year. However, with Texas and the goals that they have later on down the road, that's something that has to be cleaned up, and you'd like to see that in Dallas on a neutral field against one of your biggest rivals.
I feel like
scratch what I said. That makes the most. That makes way more sense. I mean, well, that and what you brought up, talking about special teams. Letting up, special teams and turnovers, ball security. Wow, can't believe I never even thought about that. You hit the nail on the head there, Coach CJ.
Special teams. I mean, we saw how big a game that was a year ago in Dallas too, right? I think Texas had the blocked punt for a touchdown. I believe that next kickoff, Oklahoma tried that reverse that went for about 60 yards, but it was called back because it was a forward lateral. And so you see in a game like this, special teams are going to play a big part of it. If you have a way to block a punt or let up a block punt, we saw it against Kansas State. It spurts momentum that way. You gotta clean that up. You gotta utilize your bye weeks to do just that. So that's great point.
Seeing this from a lot of folks in the chat, watch out for the dual threat quarterbacks. Work on that during the bye week. It is interesting because you're going to face more than we thought because Arkansas's got a dual threat quarterback. Oklahoma now's got a guy that can run around and move around a little bit as a dual threat quarterback. And we saw Mississippi State. That was something they sprinkled into the running game that added a little juice to the running games, was just quarterback run game. We thought Michigan would do it. They did it after they played Texas. They sprinkled it in maybe a few plays, but we thought, Oregon might start that game versus Texas to give them a boost. And
what about Kentucky?
I don't know. Does Vandergrift move around a little bit, CJ? I'm not really sure, but Kentucky's going to be a problem.
You called that one before the season.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem just because I think we just saw it, right? They played Georgia down to the wire and they just beat Ole Miss. That's why Kentucky's going to be a problem. They're going to be confident by the time they play Texas. The hope is that, maybe they're a little worn down by then. But I'll say this about the dual threat quarterback thing. Essentially, Oklahoma, and Coach, maybe I'm off here, but maybe you let me know if I am, because I was talking to Brian Robertson about this in the post game, and he agrees. Basically, this is going to start the blueprint that some teams are going to try to replicate against Texas. Yeah. Power run game, and hell, Oklahoma has the DNA of the veer and shoot because Jeff Lebby just left there, so they still have that DNA to run veer and shoot principles if they need to. But mix that with the power running game, downhill gap power schemes, sprinkle in some quarterback running game, and probably going for it on 4th down a few times if you get close enough. And I think that's going to start the game plan. Oklahoma can do some of that offensively.
Yeah, that the coach of Mississippi State is Art Brow's son-in-law.
Yep.
And Luttrell and Art Browse were together at Tech, so they all come from that same tree. So even though maybe, of course, Lebby left for a head job, but, the guy that replaced him, even though he wants to do a better job, everybody wants to beat Texas, especially everybody in that Leach tree. And so I'm sure they're talking. I'm sure they had a conversation. And I think that's exactly what you do. By the way, in my opinion, if you've got a dual threat quarterback that's truly a dual threat, you got it. And I'm not kidding. It's like having 12 guys on offense. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's like having an extra running back there that you don't typically account for. And so it's going to be a problem. And I think you're right. I think there's a blueprint out there, and we'll see if OU follows it as well.
Mississippi State tried that, right? We saw some direct quarterback powers with the lead blocker. You know, with they would switch in Chris Parsons at times, and you know, you knew what they were going to do. I think he was on the field for about 11 snaps. There was 11 straight runs, so obviously it changes when you can add the passing into that. But to that point, for Oklahoma, you need some healthy wide receivers, and I don't think right now that they're going to be seeing a whole lot of health right now. I think Deion Burks, who was out against Auburn, could return, but right now that's really the only wide receiver so far that I believe will be back on the field for the Sooners in this game, which we saw how much of an issue it was last week.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. That's great. They won with their defense. And that will be the matchup to watch, and we got plenty of time to break that down. Sugar Daddy, formerly Texas Beach, says CJ looking like a stud muffin.
Look at that. Thank you, Sugar Daddy.
Hey, breaking it down like a stud muffin too. CJ's doing a great job for us. How about this one? Basically, I think CJ just kind of answered this question from Jason. Good afternoon, gents. How much will Sark be beating the drum on attention to details, i.e., covering the ball with two hands, attention to snap counts, stay in lanes, and the like? Yeah, Jace, you're right about that. Kind of getting back to basics, some basic stuff that Texas can get better at. That probably would help them pull away from Mississippi State. Tex-Mex Horn 94 says, "Good afternoon, Rod, Coach, and CJ. Should we be worried about interior D-line and the rush defense in general? I think Georgia will expose our interior D-line as well as if we play Tennessee or Bama in the SEC championship." Thank you for that, Tex-Mex Horn 94. I was worried about this. I remember thinking to myself, Michigan's gonna try to expose Texas in the power run game and run downhill on them. But maybe what Michigan lacked being able to do that, first of all, they didn't have a quarterback that could really threaten you. So maybe, as Coach mentioned, you add a +1 to running game. That changes the numbers, period. And Oklahoma might be able to do that. But also, and Georgia won't be able to do that. But a team that can run downhill on you, but also take shots to elite athletes over the top. If somebody's going to run downhill on you, you know, you can just stuff the box, bring your safeties down, and you can handle that. But when you bring those safeties down, which Texas starts to bring those safeties in a little bit more, and then you saw Mississippi State take a couple of shots, and the safeties were just that close to being able to make those plays, but they were pulled to the run game a little bit, and that's how you take your shots. There are some teams that will be able to do that against Texas when Texas leaves their guys one-on-one. I'm not saying they're going to be able to convert, but they will get one-on-one situations to take their shots when Texas has to overly commit to the run game. And that's what Mississippi State at least showed, because they took like 3 shots, and they did get behind our DBs. They got behind them a little bit. Yeah. And that would be the concern, that maybe Georgia can get behind Texas with some elite athletes. So the secondary is going to be up to the task.
Yeah, certainly.
Good stuff there.
Real quick on the run game, Texas has faced the 8th most rush attempts by opponents this year, and they're 32nd in yards per game allowed at just over 106 per game. At 3.15 yards per carry allowed, I think you take those numbers right now, given the volume that they're facing. So I'm not worried. Of course, they will be tested against, you know, the likes of future SEC teams. Georgia, Kentucky, really the 2 teams that put a lot of fear on me right now, given the schedule for Texas.
Yeah, Quinn Skewer says, "Does our run defense suck?" CJ just said, "No, it does not suck." He just gave me stats. It does not suck at all. Sandman wants to know, how is Wingo? He came back into the game with a knee brace on. And CJ, I don't know if you've heard anything after that. You were over at the media availability. But when he came back into the game and actually had a target when he came back into the game, I thought, okay, he definitely passed all the tests with the trainers. And for him, it's about, you know, pain tolerance. He's not 100%, but hell, who is at this point in the season?
Yeah, no, he's fine. He played a little bit. He was back. Texas tried to give him another target. They were just rolling with other guys at the moment. He'll be all okay for Oklahoma. Hey, you know, the last highly touted freshman wide receiver to play in their first Texas OU game went for about 220, 170. What was Xavier Worthy's stat line? So
it was a
he'll be all right.
Yeah.
And then to answer Cruz's question about Jarrett Gibson, I actually noted this. His first rush attempt came with 3:10 left in the third quarter on a 3rd and 1 that was eventually blown up, but they called a timeout right before, so it didn't count. Texas ended up going right back to him, and he converted for the first down. Only finished with 4 carries. He was a bit dinged up, has been since the Colorado State game. They didn't want to utilize him a whole lot, but to Coach's point, when guys aren't living up to the billing and you don't have much depth, you got to go find an answer at some point. So they did call on him. Fortunately, it looked like Trey Wisner was having a career day. They really were able to ride him to 88 yards on 13 carries.
Yeah, Tedapare one says, Coach Ship and Rod B, did y'all see Jarrett Gibson lined up at fullback, run the dive for the first down, third quarter? Yeah, they ran that pony package. It was just specifically for that run, that one play. I don't think I saw the pony package the rest of the game. I think it was literally just that one down, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Hey, Sark, whatever it is to get it done, man. Sark will make sure that he breaks out some different concepts. How about this one? Silver Spurs 420. How is Michael Taft doing with his shoulder injury restraint? It was a stinger. Was it not reported to be a stinger? So, I mean, he's going to be ready for the Texas OU game. I don't know what his availability is at practice this week, considering it's a bye week. So they probably hold him back this week and maybe have him full throttle for the Texas OU game week. But it was just a stinger. I remember when it happened to him, too, because I saw him, I think it was like late in the first half, like something around there where it actually happened. How about this? Tedder Party wants to know, what is CJ dressing up for Halloween? CJ, what you going to be for Halloween? Are you going to be Connor Stallions? What's going on there?
Oh, man, I don't know. I feel like I'm always in a clown character costume, but we'll see. I don't know. You know, when is Halloween? About a month from now?
Yeah, you got 31st, man. You know, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know my months in order. September, October, is that how it goes?
Yeah, you got one more day, I believe, right? And then we're in October.
All right. Well, I'll take and field any requests, any suggestions that y'all got.
Actually, tomorrow's October. I take that back. Got 30 days.
We'll get brainstorming from there, but I don't know right now.
There you go. All right. CJ will keep you. CJ's really worried about what the ladies are wearing on Halloween more so than himself. Sugar Daddy, thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it. It's 4:22 and OU still sucks. Damn it, I missed it by a minute. It's 4:23 and OU still sucks. You're damn right about that. Thank you very much, Sugar Daddy. We appreciate that.
Sugar Daddy. Now I know who took that handle. Okay, I wonder why it wasn't available.
Is that what you wanted, Coach? You want that Sugar Daddy handle? Hey, Coach, how about this one from Jeff? He wants to know thoughts on Blue not making an attempt to recover the fumble that was punched out. That to me is a mentality issue, not a talent issue, and just assuming nothing went wrong. I saw this, and it was very casual. The way he got up, it almost made it seem like it wasn't a fumble. So maybe he didn't think he fumbled the football. I wasn't sure because he did get up, and it was kind of casually that he got up. It didn't seem like he was stressed out or there was a sense of urgency about it. Not sure what went on there, but what are your thoughts overall, Coach, about Blues benching?
No, most people when they fumble the ball, they try to instinctively recover it again, hoping that the 110,000 people there didn't see it. You know what I mean? That's the sense of urgency. You know, I mean, just like, man, I'm going to be in so much trouble if I don't get on that ball. I mean, oh man, I'm not letting my teammates down like that. You know, that kind of urgency. I don't know that he maybe he didn't think it was a fumble. I don't know. But I have no idea why he wouldn't have had more of a sense of urgency to try to get up and get on it.
Yeah, the only explanation for me is that he was a little hazy. You know, it did look like he got rocked right, you know, and when that's the case, I think you're trying to figure out where you might be.
That's true.
You know, there were some questions on whether or not it was a head thing. I don't think they would have let him talk to the media if he was under the weather like that. So I think that does rule out any type of concussion situation, but maybe he just got his bell rocked and, you know, needed a minute to recalibrate.
Yeah, trust me, it's happened. I think I've been that dude before. Not sure about that. Good question, though. David Keith Williams always has great questions, too. Says, Rod Babers, Coach Shipley, CJ Vogel. I'm not into hot takes necessarily, but what do you all think about the likelihood of Isaiah Bond and Gunnar Helm being All-Americans? I think they will be. That's a great question. The only thing is the numbers. Because I think their play in terms of them making big plays in big games, I think both of them will have those moments. Gunnar Helm led you in receiving in the Michigan game. So he's becoming a household name among college football fans. I think Bond will have big plays in big games coming up as well. So yeah, because you have so much guys there spraying the ball around so well.
Yeah,
there's so much variety now in the offense. I do wonder if some guys around the country just will have just way more, gaudy numbers than you'll be able to accumulate. That's the only thing working against them potentially, right? I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. Texas has had 4 of the 5 games so far this year where they've had 10 or more players with a pass reception.
Yeah.
I mean, name another year in which that would have been the case. I don't know if it would have been while I was alive, right?
No.
That's going to be the issue. They have a lot of guys they feed the ball to, whereas you look at, guys like a Tetaroya McMillan over at Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You look at, even a Ryan Williams to an extent at Alabama, they need a big play. They're throwing it to the 17-year-old. It's crazy the difference in volume share that these guys get because of necessity versus absolute, kind of that luxury that Texas has with a number of guys. So for that reason, I don't know. It's going to take big games against big opponents. Similarly to the Heisman conversation with Quinn, it's still on the table for all of these guys. But you're going to have massive games against your biggest opponents on the biggest stage to get that done if you don't have the overall numbers to back up the claim.
That's a good point. And Coach, I'll throw this one out there to you from Ski Break. Who is our number 2 receiver after a quarter of the regular season? Who is the number 2 guy? Who is it? Is it
Ryan Wingo?
Bond seems like the number 1 guy, right?
Yeah, to me.
Yeah. Who's number 2? Is it Golden?
I would say Wingo.
Yeah.
I mean, that. He hadn't had any obvious drops.
Yeah.
No,
he's consistent.
He is consistent. He's clutch.
Ryan,
yeah, you're right about that. What are your thoughts, CJ? Who do you think is the number 2 guy?
It's interesting because you almost have to put it in like a 2A, a 2B, a 2C, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You never know who's going to have the big day, and that's again a luxury because how do you defend against that? I thought Matthew Golden's had plenty of positive moments this year. He's on the field for a lot of snaps. He, was great in the blocking game, and then you see DeAndre Moore with 104 and 2 scores, and then you see Jonte Cook 2 weeks before with 2 scores, and now you're seeing Ryan Wingo, every time he touches the ball, basically, it's a big play if there's blocking in front of him and he's healthy. So, good, great problem to have.
It is. I really, that's a great question, Ski, because I think you'll get 3 or 4 different answers, especially now after DeAndre Moore had a 100-yard game now, and man, hell, who knows where he is in that ranking, in that hierarchy in a couple of weeks. Let's thank one of our sponsors real quick. I know we're getting close to the end of our live stream here. Let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local spec, so give it a try. Of course, Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. So check out Flat Creek Estate Winery at flatcreekestate.com. You can go check it out at Specs. Also, Central Market has a Flat Creek Estate selection for you. You can go check that out. Flatcreekestate.com. We really appreciate them and are grateful for them sponsoring the winning drive. All right. A couple other questions here, and then we'll bring it. We'll end our live stream for today. How about this one? And this comes from Emmanuel. He wants to know, are Georgia and Bama deeper than Michigan at D tackle? Yeah. No, I from what I heard, now you're talking about frontline talent. I think obviously Michigan has 2 guys that are considered to be first and second round caliber guys in Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Depth-wise, Georgia probably may have Michigan in terms of depth overall, 3rd string guys on the D tackle. And maybe that's the case for Bama too, because of the way they've been recruiting over the last 5 or 6 years. With Michigan, maybe that's not the case. So if that's the kind of depth you're talking about, then, but if you're talking about frontline talent, Texas has faced the toughest D tackle duo they'll face all year. They handled them.
I agree.
It's hard for us to believe they did, but they handled them. Shout out to Jake Majors, and this is a question. I think it's a great question to end on, actually, guys. Who has improved their draft stock the most so far through, Coach, I'll throw it to you first. Through the first 5 games, who has had their draft stock increase the most, in your opinion?
I would say Gunnar Helm.
I'd be right. I think you're right, Coach. Actually, I agree with that. Yeah, because I did not have him as a guy getting drafted.
No, a year ago, or the end of last season, I was calling him serviceable.
Yeah.
He's just a guy. I mean, he's, and boy, I missed that one a mile. Well, I'm glad I did.
He's been good, really good.
That's a good one, Coach. I like that. What about you, CJ?
I think there's been 3 right now, maybe 4 who have helped themselves. It's Gunnar Helm, it's Jake Majors and David Keith Williams here. Vernon Broughton, he's been really good.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I think we knew Andrew Makuba was going to be good whenever Texas had him out of the portal. I think David Benda is the 4th that I'm kind of teetering on, saying, I don't know if he was the guy that was going to get drafted originally coming into the year. It's taken him a while to showcase what he can do, but I feel like every week I'm seeing him lay out a running back where I'm sitting there saying,
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's been encouraging. And it's even more encouraging knowing he's only going to continue getting better as he sees more tape, as he sees more live snaps. That's encouraging.
No, it's a good point. And remember, I think it's the Shakespearean irony, I guess, that going into the Texas OU week. And wasn't it his assignments? I'm not mistaken, that last touchdown, that game-winning touchdown Texas defense gave up, it was a David Benda assignment, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of with that blown coverage. So I think this is going to be a big game for David Benda. And I agree with you about David Benda. I did not expect that to be a guy mentioned in conversations about guys getting drafted. But, yeah, people are having that conversation. I'll say Jake Majors is someone to throw in that conversation too, especially after what he did versus Michigan. And Jake Majors right now is getting a lot of love in some of those early mock drafts, as what he should be. All right, let's thank our last sponsor for the evening, and thank you guys for all the super chats and the participation. Let's thank our friends over at South Point Dodge. Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. So head on over to South Point Dodge right now, and right now is the perfect time to do it. They have a great deal happening right now. You can shop over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings over at South Point Dodge. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. Austin's automotive everything, southpointdodge.com. Head on over there off I-35, and you can see their great selection and great inventory in person, or you can go just to southpointdodge.com and go check it out online. Thank you very much for sponsoring the winning drive, our friends over at South Point Dodge. All right, don't forget tomorrow, folks, you'll have the coffee and football. Oh, thank you very much. Sugar Daddy, hat tip to Coach Shipley. Thank you for your son. You're damn right. Thank you, Coach. I should thank you. Yeah. Coach, give them the website so they can go get them Shipley Ranches hats, man.
Yeah, and we got burnt orange now.
Yeah.
It's Suede, Swayde, Suede, and Shield Co. Shield is my other grandson, CO for company.com. Mm-hmm. Suede and ShieldCo.com, I believe.
Hey,
look at that.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And yeah, keep pumping out them Shipleys, man. It's always good. We can use some more of them over at the 40 acres. All right, but remember to check out Coffee and Football tomorrow at 8 a.m. right here on the On Texas Football YouTube channel. And remember, tomorrow we'll have our live stream happening at 7 p.m. Me and CJ Vogel, along with my man E. Hogan, we'll be having that Tuesday night live stream. That's always fun. For Matthew behind the scenes, he's the real MVP, folks. Trust me, we cannot do it without him, man. He's awesome. He kills it each and every day. Also, want to thank Coach for all of his wisdom. Want to thank my man CJ Vogel for all of the nuggets. Thank you guys for all the super chats. You guys are very kind. Really enjoy building this community with you guys, man. It's going to be special. This is going to be a special season, so I'm glad we're doing it with you. But for Coach and for CJ Vogel, damn late to the party. For Matthew and for all of our sponsors, thank you to Duck Camp. Thank you to Flat Creek Estate Winery. Thank you very much to our friends over at South Point Dodge. And thank you to Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee and the good folks over at Hard Grove Roofing for sponsoring the Winning Drive. Until next time, welcome Horns.